welcome to NASSCOM Technology and Leadership Forum. I have with me Rowan Curran, Senior Analyst, Forrester Research, joining us now. Thanks so much, Rowan, for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.
So the most recent AI tool that has come up is Sora. And I want your reaction on this. People are excited, from text to image. Now we've gone to text to video. So it seems like the possibilities are endless. Are they?
Well, the future is wide open. The possibilities are endless. The possibilities with the technology we have today are very broad, but still somewhat limited. So the release of Sora was a bit of a surprise, and also it definitely represents a step forward in the text to video space. So, over the course of the past several years, we've had a number of different tools released. We have Stable Video Diffusion that was released in the open source in the fall. We have Runway AI, a few other companies that are producing text to video, but never have we seen such cohesive videos of such length that also have such strong world modeling characteristics. And that world modeling characteristics is the thing that I want to touch on more specifically, because it's great to be able to generate like a cool movie or a short clip or something like that. But what is interesting about Sora and what OpenAI started to speculate on in their technical paper was that the model's actually building a representation of the world internally. So when you look at the Sora videos, particularly ones where there is physics going on. So if there's liquid moving, like there's a couple ships moving in a teacup. There's one with puppies jumping in snow. The hair moves very realistically. The snow moves very realistically. And these are very hard things to achieve. So what they've speculated on is the model is generating an internal representation of the world, which then has implications about how we can use these models. Because if they actually understand how the world works overall, then we can actually have them, participate in product design and development and testing and all of these different things. But I wanted to also quickly touch on the fact that Sora wasn't the only big announcement last week. We also had the announcement of Google's Gemini 1.5, and that is as important as Sora in the release of all these things, because they jumped what's called the context window, essentially how much information you can give to a large language model at once. They took that from the state of the art, which was around 200,000 tokens, and they brought it up to 1 million to 10 million. So now with this model, you're able to give it many, many hundreds of pages of information. In fact, Google, I think, released a blog where they analyzed 100-something thousand odd lines of code with this. So both of these models represent big steps forward in the space that has had big steps forward just constantly over the past couple of years.
Right, but beyond content creation, what are the best use cases for generative AI?
Oh, there's a ton. So I think when we look at content creation, we actually should kind of put that aside as like a great use case for generative AI, at least if a human is not in the loop. But what we are seeing is kind of 4 primary use cases that people are working with today. So we have general knowledge and productivity support. So these things are like the co-pilots, just using a large language model to help you design a brief or iterate on your writing. You give it a paragraph and it can make it more formal, less formal, warmer, colder, whatever you want. So that's the primary set of use cases that we're seeing today. And then the second set of use cases is around summarization and content transformation. So this is being used in a couple of different ways. We have marketers that are using large language models to take a white paper, say, and then turn it into a blog post, a LinkedIn post, and then maybe some other type of communication, simply using the language model to do so. They don't have to rewrite this content. But then we're also seeing this used for summarization. So in the same vein as transforming one piece of content to another, we're seeing this used in places like call centers, where there is a speech-to-text transcription that is already created, and now folks are basically rolling out setups where it will summarize that call for the post-call log, which we're already seeing tremendous benefits from that, because it saves 30, 40 seconds of time of a call center employee's time, and that's huge for the overall impact of the organization. Then the third set of use cases is around knowledge retrieval and search. So this is can kind of be thought of as anything that uses, or not anything, but it's primarily around the retrieval augmented generation architecture that has become kind of the gold standard for how to ground large language models in your enterprise data. So we're seeing this used in research and development. We're seeing this used in internal customer service. So if you have a question for the help desk or something like that, people are using retrieval augmented generation to get you the right answer and things of that nature. And that use case has kind of boundless potential in terms of knowledge retrieval across enterprises. And then the fourth set of use cases is a little distinct, but actually this is probably going to have the most impact overall, but we won't see a lot of this impact directly. And that is the use case of what we at Forrester call Turing bots. Now, Turing bots are how we talk about the entire kind of software development lifecycle as it is being impacted by AI assistant tools and code assist tools and things like that. And that is causing, a really deep transformation in the entire software development lifecycle. We're just starting today because it's very much in the coding and the test case generation and the documentation pieces right now, but moving forward, this is going to really alter the way that we develop and release applications. So we're going to see many more, much faster application release in the future. We're going to see more complex applications, and we're going to see more people able to build them overall. But this is going to be one of the impacts that we just kind of see in terms of how it manifests in the world, rather than seeing the direct tooling itself as we interact with it.
Right. But what about ethics and regulation? Because, people can use this technology in the other way as well, for fraud, for crimes. So what's the role of ethics, and should there be some sort of self-governance?
So I definitely think it is behooving on all of us who are working with these technologies to be very conscientious about how we're using them and what the implications of them are. So, we strongly recommend that every organization has a responsible AI approach to things. So not just saying, okay, is this ethical or not, but is this a responsible way to go about whatever use case we are approaching? And that might not be, necessarily an AI-related implication. So for example, you might be using generative AI in an advertisement for, say, a burger chain, and you might use it to create an image of a hamburger that is being run in a television ad. In the United States, that is not legal to do, because when you have food represented in advertisements, it needs to be real food to a certain degree. So in that case, it would actually probably run afoul of the law to generate an image to then use in an advertisement. But you wouldn't necessarily think about that as a ethical AI implication if you didn't have diverse stakeholders and actual, SMEs involved in the conversation. So there's a lot of need to proactively bring in other stakeholders here, but kind of more broadly, I think it's important for us to recognize that no matter what AI tools we're working with, there's going to be bias in them, because AI tools are built by humans, and humans are very, very biased. And what we can do with ourselves is try and identify those biases and mitigate them, or be aware of them when we are acting in the world. And the same thing goes for AI. But a lot of people think that it's AI, it's unbiased, it has an objective point of view, but it's a reflection of us. And so we need to make sure that it is performing in a way that is in line with our values, is doing positive things, and try to steer it away from the bad consequences that we've seen from other technologies in the past.
And what do you think is the impact of generative AI going to be 2024 and beyond?
It's too much for me to even encapsulate. So I'll talk one piece of it very quickly. So one thing that I've been reiterating, a lot over the past several weeks is that, not several weeks, but over the past recent amount of time, is that when we look at folks who are in university, who started in 2023, those kids will never have had a university experience that does not have the accessibility of ChatGPT to them. Now, that's a kind of fundamental change in how you think about retrieving information, how you think about doing schoolwork and whatnot. And so that type of broader social implication is just one that we've started to examine, started to think about. And those types of things are going to ripple out even farther. I mean, we can think about the content generation and things like, deep fakes and fake content, and how we are going to have to be much, much more proactively savvy media consumers to avoid some of the very real challenges that are going to come down the road. There is not a shadow of a doubt that somebody is going to use video generation tools to try and incite hatred and violence and cause destruction. And I think we just all need to be very conscious that this is a possibility, and ready to be skeptical of content that we see, but also not be so skeptical that we don't disbelieve everything. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rowan, for speaking with us. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
It was great to be here. Thank you for having me.